The last few days of Donald Trump's presidency have been very revealing. He has, among other things, feuded with the press, admitted that being president is harder than he thought, praised authoritarian rulers, and made bizarre comments about the Civil War. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. As you may recall, Trump's positions on most issues during the campaign weren't all that clear. But there was one thing he was very clear about, and that was that being president would be easy.
We're going to make America great again. It's going to be easy. It's going to be easy. It's going to be easy.
Believe me, the jobs are coming back, folks. That's going to be so easy. You're going to have such great health care at a tiny fraction of the cost, and it's going to be so easy.
And they don't understand it. They said, but how do you get them to pay? I said, it's so easy. And you understand. Just rely on me, okay? Rely. So easy. That's so easy.
People who are actually reliable don't have to say the words rely on me. If you ask your buddy to pick you up from the airport and he says rely on me, get ready for dinner at Cinnabon. Of course, the story of the first 100 days has been Trump's childlike naivete colliding with reality. In fact, Trump has, without shame, admitted that basic aspects of the job have turned out to be harder than he thought, like health care or China's relationship with North Korea.
It's an unbelievably complex subject. Nobody knew that health care could be so complicated.
Mr. Trump said he told his Chinese counterpart he believed Beijing could easily take care of the North Korea threat. Mr. Xi then explained the history of China and Korea. Mr. Trump said, and I'm quoting the president here, "After listening for 10 minutes, I realized it's not so easy."
The president is literally being tutored by foreign leaders. And after he taught me about the history of China and North Korea, he helped me with my math homework, which was very... And while he's at it, maybe President Xi could give Trump an American history lesson, too, because today, when Trump was asked about his supposed model for the presidency, Andrew Jackson, he went on a bizarre tangent about the Civil War and Jackson, who died 16 years before the war started.
I mean, had Andrew Jackson been a little bit later, you wouldn't have had the Civil War. He was really angry that he saw what was happening with regard to the Civil War. He said, there's no reason for this. People don't realize, you know, the Civil War, you think about it, why? People don't ask that question. But why was there the Civil War? Why could that one not have been worked out?
Yeah. People don't ask that question. No one ever asked why was there the Civil War. And who can forget those searing letters from soldiers on the battlefield? Dearest Elizabeth, I write to you from the front lines where the Civil War rages on for whatever reason. Today I bayoneted my own brother. For what purpose? He cried out. And I, of course, could only respond, I do not know. Nobody knows. General Grant informed us today we will be marching on to Gettysburg. Why? What's there, I asked. He shrugged, confused. Who knows, he said, and cited the famous words of our current president, Andrew Jackson, there's no reason for this. So, Trump clearly does not have a firm grasp on the basic aspects of being president, let alone basic facts about American history. And now he's essentially admitting that he's in over his head, telling a reporter that he didn't expect the job of president to be this hard.
I loved my previous life. I had so many things going. I actually, this is more work than in my previous life. I thought it would be easier. I thought it was more of I'm a details-oriented person. I think you would say that. But I do miss my old life. I like to work, so that's not a problem. But this is actually more work.
You thought the presidency would be easier than being a game show host? There's a reason Abraham Lincoln is on the 5 instead of Alex Trebek. Although I have to say that this is the most absurd part of Trump's answer.
I'm a details-oriented person. I think you would say that.
No. I would not say that. No one thinks details are your strong suit. And I'm not even talking about the little details. I'm talking about things like, why did the Civil War happen? Or, you know, which country did I just bomb?
We've just launched 59 missiles heading to Iraq.
Well, you headed to Syria?
Yes, heading toward Syria.
Yes. Yeah, Syria. But, you know, Iraq, spoiler alert. Now, you might think the president, as unqualified as Trump, would show some humility. Instead, he spent the last few days, as usual, attacking the media. Today, he abruptly ended an interview with CBS's John Dickerson after once again making his baseless claim that then-President Obama had him surveilled, but refusing to provide any evidence. All Dickerson did was try to get Trump to explain what his own words meant, but Trump was not having it.
You saw what happened with surveillance, and I think that was inappropriate.
What does that mean, sir?
You can figure that out yourself.
Well, the reason I asked is you said you called him sick and bad.
Look, you can figure it out yourself.
But you stand by that claim about him?
I don't stand by anything. I just, you can take it the way you want.
But I'm asking you, because you don't want it to be fake news. I want to hear it from President Trump.
You don't have to ask me.
Why not?
Because I have my own opinions. You can have your own opinions.
But I want to know your opinions. You're the President of the United States.
It's enough. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You know, dramatic exits are definitely less dramatic when you stay in the same room and just sit down. You can't fire me, I quit. Maybe Trump is just frustrated by the fact that despite his many promises, he has very little to show for his first 100 days. In fact, his only real accomplishment seems to be turning the Oval Office into something of a man cave. A reporter for the Financial Times relayed this anecdote from a recent interview with Trump. Sitting across from Donald Trump in the Oval Office, my eyes are drawn to a little red button on a box that sits on his desk. This isn't the nuclear button, is it? I joke, pointing. No, everyone thinks it is, Trump says on cue, before leaning over and pressing it to order some Cokes. Everyone does get a little nervous when I press that button. No, that's not the nuclear button. The nuclear button is right next to it. It's also small and red, but I remember which one it is because it's on the right, and I have the right to use nuclear weapons. Of course, I also have the right to have a Coke in the middle of the day because I'm the president, and I don't have to worry about the sugar because I have the best dentist. I mean, this guy, he's amazing, and he's right about everything, which is why I keep a right button to the right of my Coke button that calls my dentist. Do you want me to call him right now? So Trump doesn't seem to have much knowledge of or interest in things like governing or American history, but there's one thing Trump is very interested in, and that's his own electoral victory. Because when Trump called reporters into the Oval Office to discuss the accomplishments of his first 100 days, the only actual accomplishment he had to offer was the act of becoming president, an accomplishment he bragged about in the middle of a conversation about Chinese President Xi Jinping.
We were talking, as I mentioned earlier, about President Xi and that relationship. And then he sort of interrupted himself and handed out this map of the Electoral College and said that these were the latest figures of the areas in the country that he had won in 2016. And there were 3 of us in the interview, as I said, and he had a copy for each of us. I think he just wanted to relish in the fact that this map looks good for him. And he said, you know, the red is obviously us, and the red are the areas in the country that he won.
And in fact, I even colored in the map myself. And if you notice, I stayed within the lines, which everyone says is the hardest part. And I did it all in under 100 days, which... Now, as troubling as all of that is, Trump has also spent a lot of time lately praising authoritarian rulers with terrible human rights records. For example, he recently issued a statement congratulating Turkey's president for a referendum that gave him expansive new powers. And in interviews over the weekend, Trump praised North Korea's Kim Jong-un multiple times, calling him a pretty smart cookie and saying, if it would be appropriate for me to meet with him, I would be honored to do it. You'd be honored? He's very misunderstood. You'd like him. We should call him. I think it's this button. And Kim Jong-un wasn't the only authoritarian Trump praised this week. On Saturday, he spoke with President Rodrigo Duterte of the Philippines. Duterte has been accused of running death squads and has bragged that he has personally murdered people, like when he said, quote, I will pick you up in a helicopter to Manila, and I will throw you out on the way. I've done it before. Why would I not do it again? It's stories like that that earned Duterte the nickname United Airlines. Now, Duterte has since claimed he was joking. Nonetheless, despite his dismal human rights record, the White House issued a statement saying Trump and Duterte had a very friendly conversation and that President Trump invited President Duterte to the White House. So if you're a journalist covering the White House when Duterte visits and you hear Donald Trump say this...
Let's give them a helicopter ride, okay?
Run! So to recap, a president who's in over his head is fighting with the media, reminiscing about his election night victory, inviting authoritarian rulers to the White House, and also maybe doesn't know why the Civil War happened. Donald, do you still stand by your claim that the presidency would be easy?
I don't stand by anything.
This has been A Closer Look.